Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has now decided to seek parliamentary immunity from prosecution over corruption charges against him. This controversial move could now delay a trial even until after Israel's third election this March. The timing of this move, though, has been very controversial. Netanyahu filed his immunity request just 4 hours before the application deadline was about to expire. But why is this move so significant? According to law, the trial cannot begin once an immunity request is made. Israeli parliament, or the Knesset, which has been dissolved ahead of the French elections, is unlikely to rule on the request before the polls. Netanyahu, who denies any sort of wrongdoing, would still need the support of more than half of MPs for immunity to be granted to him.
חוק החסינות נועד להגן על נבחרי ציבור מתפירת תיקים, מהגשת כתבי אישום פוליטיים שמטרתם לפגוע ברצון העם. החוק נועד להבטיח שנבחרי העם יוכלו לשרת את העם לפי רצון העם. טוב, מכל הסיבות הללו, כדי להמשיך להוביל את ישראל להישגים אדירים, בכוונתי לפנות ליושב ראש הכנסת בהתאם לסעיף 4ג לחוק, כדי לממש את זכותי, חובתי ושליחותי, להמשיך לשרת אתכם למען עתיד ישראל.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Benny Gantz hit out at the controversial move. Gantz has vowed that his blue and white party would do everything that it can to prevent the immunity to be granted.
מעולם לא תיארתי לעצמי שנגיע ליום שבו ראש ממשלת ישראל יימנע מלהתייצב בפני החוק ומערכת המשפט, שלראש ממשלה לא יהיה אכפת מעתידה של מדינת ישראל, אלא אך ורק מעצמו ומגורלו האישי. והיום ברור על מה אנחנו נאבקים. נתניהו יודע שהוא אשם.
Netanyahu was charged with bribery, fraud and breach of trust, making him the first sitting Israeli leader to have been indicted for corruption. A closer look now at the charges against him. The allegations range from receiving gifts worth thousands of dollars to a deal to change the regulatory frameworks in favor of a media group in exchange for favorable press coverage. Netanyahu allegedly struck a deal with the owner of Israel's most read newspaper to receive favorable media coverage. Another case against Netanyahu is that he made decisions benefiting the Israeli media mogul Shaul Elovitch. Elovitch is the controlling shareholder of Bezeq, Israel's largest telecom firm. This was in exchange for positive coverage on a website that is also owned by Elovitch. Israeli law does not require Netanyahu to step down from the post of Prime Minister if indicted. The entire process of an indictment and trial could take 2 years. Netanyahu will only be forced to resign if he is eventually convicted. While Netanyahu continues to deny all of these charges, the timing could not have been worse, as the country now heads for a third general election in less than a year, and that election is slated for March. And joining us on the broadcast this minute is Jody Cohen, senior political consultant and expert, joining us live from Israel. Thanks very much, Jody, for speaking with us. Let me begin by asking you, procedurally speaking, what do we expect the next few days and weeks to look like? And how surprised are you by this move of Benjamin Netanyahu, and what's the likelihood that he will actually get the immunity that he is seeking?
All very good questions, Molly. The first thing we will see is that there have been calls to resurrect the Knesset House Committee. They'll be the committee that would have to vote on whether or not to agree to this immunity appeal. There is a question mark over whether or not that will actually happen. The Knesset Speaker, Yuli Edelstein, is meeting with the Blue and White Party on Sunday afternoon to discuss this. As you said, this is all happening in the lead up to the March elections. This is going to very much delay the whole process. there was a surprise this morning when Avigdor Lieberman came out and said that he would not vote for the immunity appeal. And this is something that was new, that changed the dynamics, really, of if the Knesset did head to a vote on this issue.
Judy, Benny Gantz has promised to try and make sure that this immunity is not granted to Benjamin Netanyahu, but what powers does he really have at this point? What are the various ways in which he can actually prevent that from happening?
Well, the Knesset House Committee would have the first vote on it, and now, together with Blue and White and the Jewish Home Party's Israel Beiteinu's votes together, they're likely to defeat the request for immunity granted. If by any chance they don't, then this will go to the Knesset Forum, and again, with the votes together of the centre-left and Arab Wing bloc, together with Avigdor Lieberman's party, it's not likely to pass. And we know from the legal advisor that once Netanyahu has requested immunity, and if it's rejected, he can't ask again. So that's the first thing. And then again, this process would take a very long time. To even form the Knesset committee, which is not a done deal, it's controversial, takes time. And for them to go through all of their proceedings, it's very unlikely to happen before the March election, which would then reshape the Knesset and inevitably reshape the Knesset House Committee. So we are seeing long delays to this whole process.
Right, and to what extent do you think these charges against him have had a bearing on the electoral outcome in the last two elections that we've seen so far?
Well, a Channel 12 poll has showed that the request for immunity is very unpopular, with 51% of the public against the request for immunity and only 33% supportive of this move. However, the same poll also asked about if there was an election today, how would you vote? And it showed actually a slight increase in the right-wing bloc, very slight, not enough to get a majority. Another poll in recent days showed an absolute dead heat between centre-left and Arab-wing bloc and right. So again, it puts Avigdor Lieberman in the position of being a kingmaker, and as he surprised everybody today, nobody knows which way he would go if the stalemate will continue.
Right, so all of those possibilities on the horizon is going to be a very crucial few weeks ahead for Israel, which does hope to at least come out of the uncertainty that it has been grappling with for the last 1 year. Elections due in March, and now Benjamin Netanyahu is seeking immunity as far as those graft charges are concerned. We're going to leave it there for the moment. Jody Cohen, appreciate very much joining us on the broadcast.
Thanks.